Hi everybody, this is CS Professor Pam with Jumpstart Code. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting my channel. If this is your first time here and you like the video, please like it and subscribe. And please leave comments. I'm very happy to add more videos based on feedback that I get from you. So I want to do another video on functions. And it's kind of a silly example that I like to do to try to help explain the different types of functions that there are in JavaScript. So previously we've talked about functions, and a function is basically a mini program. I think of it as a subcontractor that you hire to do a particular task. And so when you decide to create a function, you need to first write out what do you want it to do. You need to write out a job description. And that is going to determine the necessary inputs of the function, which are parameters. And it will also determine whether or not the function has an output. And the name should also be descriptive of what it's going to do. Good function names usually have verbs in them because they typically do something. They're action oriented. Now, I want to talk about this output concept, because when I say, does the function have an output, I'm not saying, do you print something from that function? What I'm saying is there a result that the function is supposed to return to you? So here's my example to try to give you a visual of what I mean. I think of functions in kind of two broad categories as service providers or product providers. So I want you to think about, suppose you are planning a party and you're going to hire some people to help you with the party. So you hire somebody to decorate at your party, to do the decorations, right? So the person who's going to do the decorations for your party is providing a service, because they're going to come in, do balloons, streamers, whatever kind of decoration you want. And the way you know that they are done is you walk in the room and you can see the results of the service that they provided. There's not something that they hand you to indicate that here is what I've provided, right? It's just all around on the walls. Now, if I hire somebody to bake me a cake, if I hire a bakery to bake me a cake for the party, that is a product provider. So they do the work and bake the cake, but when they're done, they hand me the cake as the result of the task that I asked them to do. So there is something that is being handed back to me. And in terms of functions, that has to do with this return statement. So if a function has some particular result that it is handing back to you, then that means there is a return statement, right? And that also means when you call that function, you need to catch that answer. So we've talked about this previously in some of the other videos on functions. So I'm going to get right into my little fun example here. And my fun example, so I've got my HTML and it's connected to a script, a JavaScript file, and I've got my alert there just to make sure that everything is connected. So if I run this, we see that we're connected, right? We always double check that. Then I am going to start with use strict. All right, I am going to write a program that basically prints out the lyrics to the silly little children's song, Old MacDonald, right? So if you look at the lyrics to that song, then there is a part that is repeated, right? Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. There's some other stuff. Then you say the same thing at the end. So that is a good candidate for a function. So the first function that I'm going to write is going to be called sing chorus, because I'm calling that part of the song the chorus. And it's just going to print out the lyrics. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. All right, now, again, just to review some things we know about functions. If I run this right now, there's my window. Let's open up the console. And here we go. We don't see anything here, and that's because we've written a function, but we haven't called it, right? So I need to call this function. So this is my function definition. They're going to all go here. So if I call it, now, let's just move this out of the way. All right, you see, we see the words over there, right? And since those words go at the beginning and again at the end of the song, I'm going to just do here, middle part goes here. We're going to come back to that. And then again, one of the benefits of a function is that you can repeat those actions without having to retype the code. So we can see that we are, get my console here, we get Old MacDonald had a farm, then it returns, then we print out the middle part, goes here, then we call the function again, and we get that, right? Now, let's move on to the next part. So there's a part here that speaks to a certain animal. On that farm, he had some type of animal. So this is going to be a function. First of all, let me go back. Sing chorus here. This is a function with no inputs, no outputs. No output, okay? But my next function is going to be called sing animal. And it needs an input. I need to tell it which animal is it going to sing about, right? And let me write the job description. Sings the line about a particular animal. So that means we need a parameter. And you can name this whatever you want. You could just name it X, but you want variable names to be descriptive of the data that is in them. So this is just going to say, and on, I'm going to use the backtick notation. So if I use my backticks here, and on that farm he had and then we use $, curly brackets, and if I put the variable name in there, then it will print out the actual data in that variable. And then we need this line, so I'm just going to copy it. All right, so let's just do a test of this. So instead of this middle part, I'm going to say sing name. And let's do a cow. Okay, so again, we want to do short little iterations of write something and test it. Okay, I forgot the name of my function. Sorry, it's called sing animal. Right? That's why if you're doing little short iterations, it's easier to find your problems. All right, so look at what we have now. I'm going to actually do this like this. And on that farm, he had a cow, right? So here, I called this function, sing animal. I passed it this data, the string cow, which got stored into this variable called animal, and that's why it printed out he had a cow. That's what happened here when we got the value of what was in that variable. Okay? All right. Now we have the part of the song, the silly part that has the different sounds, right? With a moo moo here, moo moo there. Okay? So we're going to work on that. So now again, this function has one input, no output. We're going to see several different variations of functions in terms of inputs and outputs here. So we're going to write this function, sing sound, right? And again, how do I know that it needs that? This function sings the lines about the particular animal sound. So that is a parameter that needs to be passed to this function. All right. Now, I'm actually going to write a little helper function, because in this part where we're singing the sound, there's a part where you need to echo the sound, right? It's supposed to say with a moo moo or with a bark bark or whatever. So instead of doing that twice, I am going to write one more function here. I'm going to call it echo sound. And this function receives a sound. And so this function receives a sound and returns the sound printed twice, or the sound, a string returns a string with the sound twice. Okay, so this function is going to have a return statement. So in other words, if sound is moo, then I want to return moo moo. Okay, so this needs a return statement. So I'm going to make a little local variable here. Let echo equals sound plus a dash plus sound. And we are going to return echo. Right? Now let me show you a quick little test of what this is doing. So if I go up here, let's test echo sound. So if I call echo sound like this, and pass it something. Okay, I'm not seeing the result of what it did. So, was the function called? So let's do a little debugging. I'm going to go in here. Let's print out what echo is. That way I'll know whether it got into this function or not. All right, so do you see here? So we did create that variable and put the right thing in it, but because it is being returned, if I want to see it when I call this function, I would have to console log it, or I would have to store the value one way or another. Otherwise, the value just kind of drops on the floor. Okay, so you see here, this is from inside and this is from the console log. All right, so we have created this helper function that I'm going to use here. So this function is going to console log with a, let's do backticks. So we need, this is where we need the echo, right? Actually, let's not do the backticks for a second. So I'm going to do it this way. With a, and we're going to call echo sound and pass it whatever is in sound. We don't have to do it all yet. Let's just see if this works. With a, then, so I'm concatenating onto that whatever gets returned from this function call, and then I'm concatenating this. Okay? Let's make sure this works. Before we go further, testing is a really important part of the programming process, and going slowly and double checking things before you go too far. So I'm going to call the sing sound function. It is going to do this, and in doing this, it is going to call echo sound. And I don't want to see this anymore, so I'm going to comment that out. All right, so let's see what happens. Here we go with a moo here, right? So this data moo got passed into sound. It printed out with a. That data moo also got passed to this call to echo sound. So now we transfer control here. We create this variable that has it twice, and we return it. So that's what gets put here in the console log. Okay, so now we can almost finish. So it's here, it's there. This one I'm going to use backticks, so you can use a combination of these things, right? Here a, because this is just one time. Sound. There a sound. Then I'm going to have to call echo again, right? Everywhere a, and we're going to call echo sound and pass sound. All right, on McDonald, on that farm you had a cow with a moo here, moo there, here, moo there. Uh-oh, made a mistake. Let's go look. Here a, all right, what did I forget? I forgot the $sign. It's the $sign along with the curly brackets that makes that work, right? Here, moo, there, moo, everywhere, moo. All right, so yes, so this works, right? We're going to do one more thing here. Let me kind of review. So this function has one input, no output. So we have all different variations here. Sing chorus has no inputs. That's why there's empty parentheses. There's no return statement. That means it has no output, right? This is what I call a service provider. This one has one input because there's one thing here in parentheses, no output. This is also a service provider. This one has one input, no output, also a service provider. Echo sound has one input, one output, right? Because there is a return statement here. That is where the output is being passed back. And so this is a product provider. Okay, we're going to make one more function though. Now that we've tested out that all these work, instead of me having to call make all these separate calls. Let's make one function that sings the whole song. So that function is going to be called sing song. And to sing this song, I must provide two things. I must provide an animal and I must provide a sound, right? And all that goes in it is, I can take these statements right here and just do a little modification of them. So we're going to sing the chorus. We're going to, then this, instead of cow, this is going to be animal. And this is going to be sound, right? And so instead of, well, we can do all that, but I'm going to call sing song, and let's do pig oink. Okay, so now we can sing the whole song with one function call. So here, all of this output is coming from this call here. So this function has two inputs, no output, and it is calling these different functions. So a function can call a function, and we see that in multiple places. Sing song is calling all of these, and remember, sing sound is also calling echo sound. Now, you might in some sense wonder a little bit, why do I want to break this up like this? Well, because when you have these short functions, they're a lot easier to think about exactly what you want to do. Think about the logic of them very clearly. Focus your attention there. It's less code, so if you do make a mistake, it's easier to find the mistake. And, this is how you do a complex problem. You do it one byte at a time, one function at a time. So we did not write all these functions at one time. We wrote them and we tested them as we were writing them. So that is the key to using functions to your advantage when you are writing code. And so again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different functions that we wrote, but they're all very easy to see exactly what they are doing, and we made sure that they all worked before we put them all together. So I hope this helps you really understand functions really well. Please leave some comments if there are more concepts that you want me to talk about.